will be multiple API. Okay, so how you will identify your API? Uniform resource identifier. Which resource you want to call? So that URI is nothing but from this part to this part. Okay, starting from exchange rate data to convert this one. Okay, so your base path and URI will be same only. Or you can split this into two parts. This complete will be your URI, and this starting one will be, you can tell as a base path. Okay. But in total, this will be known as URI. Yesterday we seen like how we will call this particular API. So let me start recording and we'll start today's session. I already started. Okay. So today what we are going to do, we will continue our implementation, what we discussed in last class. So what we are going to implement here, we are going to develop one REST API, okay, which will consume one third-party API, which will which will take request from front-end system transformation, and it will call third-party API to get exchange rate value from there, and it will send that exchange rate value to calling system front-end application. So here, as I discussed, so whenever we want to expose our API to external world, so first we need to, whenever you want to expose your API as a REST API, or whenever you want to consume any REST API, so which connector we will use? We will use HTTP connector. And what is connector? Connector is component, MuleSoft component, which help us to connect with external system. So here, what is external system? Front end. Here, what is external system? Third party API. So we are trying to connect with this external REST API, then we will use HTTP connector. In HTTP connector, we have two parts, listener and requester. Listener operation will use to expose our API as a REST API. Requester operation will use to consume any REST API. So you can understand difference. Here we are developing our API as a REST API. Here we are consuming some other existing REST API. Okay, and then these two places we are doing transformation. Okay, so now we will see things one by one. Okay, before implementation, I will take it in more detail first, how things will happen internally. So whenever request will come here, so if you remember in our previous discussion, one mule event will be created. So whenever request will come here, one mule event will be created. Again, we are moving from this component to this component. This event will move here. So what component will move from? What will move from one component to another component? That is mule event. Okay. Now from here to here, again this mule event will rotate. Okay. So whenever our component will keep executing. This mule event will be keep rotating. Okay. Now, once we will call this API, again we will get response and we will again do transformation. So again, this mule event will be moved from here to here. And once we will go here, again this mule event will go here. And then it will convert final response and it will send here. Okay. So if you remember, mule event contain all these things. So whenever we will call our API, so here we will pass from currency and base currency, correct? We will pass this from currency and base currency. Okay. So here we have from currency, base currency. But if you remember, when we are calling this third party API, let me open Postman also. So here you can see what we are passing. We are passing to and from. Okay. So what we are passing to and from. So here we have to, from. And another thing also we need to pass amount. It will come here also. And here it will be amount only. So you can see here, when we are passing request, so we are getting from currency, but when we are calling this third party API, okay, from source system, we are getting this, and target system, we need this. So what we need to do here, we need to do one transformation. Okay. So what we are doing here, we are converting this from currency to currency. To this is we are converting. Sorry, the from will be here. So base currency will be converted into to. So this is the responsibility of MuleSoft. Whatever request we will receive, we will convert that particular request in the target request format. Okay, what is mean by target? So we want to call this third-party API from our Mule application, and this API is expecting to, from, and amount in their query parameter. So into what we need to pass, we need to pass base currency. In from, what we need to pass from currency. And in amount, what we need to pass, we need to pass amount. So this transformation we need to do. Okay. Now, can anyone tell me what will be syntax to retrieve this particular value. We are passing this base currency as a query parameter. If I want to retrieve this value, what is the value inside this? What will be syntax?
Query params dot base currency.
Sorry.
Attributes.
Yes, correct. Syntax will be attributes dot query params dot value, this particular key name. Okay, so this will be syntax attribute dot query params dot base currency. Okay, if you remember in our previous class, I have explained this part. So if you want to retrieve any query parameter, syntax will be message dot attribute dot query params dot query parameter name. Message, as I mentioned, it's not mandatory. If you want, you can keep. If you don't want, you can remove. So what will be syntax? Attributes dot query params dot query parameter name. So attributes dot query params dot query parameter name is base currency. So if you want to fetch this base currency, this will be syntax. Same way, if you want to fetch from currency, this will be. And if you want to count, now how we will map to this, that I will show you later. That once we will start the implementation, that I will show you. But how we will retrieve, you can understand at this moment only. So this part is done. Now we will configure this. We will get response, and in response you can see here we are only interested for exchange rate value. Okay, here we are getting many things. You can see we are getting many things, but we want only this thing, result. Okay, let's see. So 5 USD will be 408.93 rupees. So what we are interested? We are interested only for result. Okay, so this is the structure of payload. So this entire thing is payload. Okay, so if you see here, this payload. Okay, so this entire thing is payload. Payload, what I want this only result. So what will be syntax? Dot. Okay. If you want fetch this result, so syntax will be payload dot result. Okay. If you want to fetch from, so what will be syntax? Can anyone tell me? I want to fetch this from this payload. What will be syntax?
Payload dot query dot query dot amount or from.
Yeah, so you can see first payload will be mandatory here. Then what is the first? Let's say you want to retrieve this from. So what is the parent of this from? Query. So first it will be query and then dot from. Okay, this is the syntax of accessing any data from this JSON payload. Okay, so that like we can retrieve this result. So result will be simply payload dot result. Okay, that we will use while sending this response.
Ravi, like it's not specific to MuleSoft, right? That is general, right?
That payload dot something.
Yeah.
Other programming language, I am not sure. Like, are we using same syntax? Which from which programming language you are trying to compare?
I'm not comparing. I'm just asking. Like, I mean, that is general, right?
I think
I mean, not
different
specific to
program.
MuleSoft.
I'm not sure other integration technology like OSB and all. We are using accessibility transformation that was completely different. Other TIPCO and all, I'm not sure. I'm not like more confidence about their syntax.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So now we are good to start the implementation. So to start this implementation, first thing we need AnyPoint Studio. Okay. So how you can download this AnyPoint Studio? In last class I mentioned, not last class, in previous class I have mentioned, but few people are new. So let me do it again quickly. So first you need to open this AnyPoint platform account. Okay. So here you can do sign up option. See, you can see sign up option. Click on this. Here you need to provide all your detail. Okay. So let's say you can provide any detail. And then here you need to provide username password. Be careful. You can use same email ID multiple times. You can create multiple account with same email ID, but your username must. So your username must be unique, and then you need to select any password, whatever you want. And then I am not a robot. I agree, accept. Okay. Yeah, actually, I was in different page while registration, so it went to this that page directly. So what you need to do, you need to click on this dot and go to AnyPoint platform. Ideally, you will come here since I used another URL, so it took me in different page. But when you will do registration, you will come in this page. Okay. After coming to this page, you need to go down, and here you can see AnyPoint Studio. Click on this download button. Then here you need to provide details to download the studio. So select product section Mule and Studio. Version, you can take latest. Operating system, whatever OS you are using. First name, you can give anything. Last name, email. Company, put anything, job title. Okay, please check your email. So let me go to email. So here, go to download page. On download. So you can see. So this AnyPoint Studio software start downloading. And this software we are going to use to do any kind of development. Whenever you will develop any Mule project, we will use this software. Okay. So once this download will be completed, what you need to do, you need to go to download folder. I have already this software downloaded. So what I will do, I will directly go to. So once you will download, you will get software like this. Okay. So what you need to do, you need to unzip this. Okay. So unzip this. You can use, there are many softwares are there. I prefer this 7-zip. Okay. So I'm going to 7-zip and I will click on extract to this. Okay. So once you will extract, I already extracted. So you will able to see software like this. So you will get this folder. Now what you need to do, go inside this folder, select this particular folder, copy this folder and go to C drive. Go to C drive and paste it here. So you can see AnyPoint Studio, you can rename the folder. Since I have two versions, so for one version I kept 6, for another version I kept 7. Okay, so just paste that folder here. Okay, and if you want, you can rename the folder name, but I just added 7 here. Go inside this, select your software. So here you can see application file. Select this application file. Okay, you can directly open this. Okay, if you want, you can directly open. I prefer to run as administrator. So what will happen? It will able to access all the file in C drive. When you will download, you will get latest version. Okay, in my case, it was 7.13, but in your case, you will get 7.14. Okay, mine one is old one, so but there is not much difference, so I'm not updating this at this moment. Okay. So once you will start, you will by default, you will get one workspace. If you want, you can click on launch directly, or you can rename, or you can give any new workspace. So here, I want to give this, okay, training studio workspace. So this name you can give anything. I given as a training studio workspace. And by default, you will get one workspace. If you want, you can use that one. Or if you want, you can rename it. You can change location also, but other thing I will keep as a default only. I will change this name. Okay, and then click. Okay, let me do it scratch one so other people will get idea how you will get first view. So when you will launch your software first time, you can click on this continue to studio and maximize this software. So this particular application or ID, you can say this is known as ID, is very similar to Eclipse ID and JDeveloper also. Okay, so actually this is based on Eclipse only, but this is very similar to JDeveloper or Eclipse ID. If any one of you have learned Java coding and all, so mostly we use JDeveloper or Eclipse. So if you are familiar with those, then most of the things will be same only. But yeah, few more things like few additional thing will be here. So here you can see we have 4 palette. Left hand side, this is known as Package Explorer. Okay, here you will get project related detail. What is the project name? How many projects are there? What all files are there in that project? Okay, so this is known as Package Explorer. This one is Mule palette. So whatever component and connector we have inside MuleSoft, all those component connector you will able to see here. At this moment, it's empty since we haven't created project. But once we will create project, you will able to see MuleSoft component and connector on this side. This is the design palette. Okay. In design palette, we have three part. Okay. So we have mule property. Okay. Oh, no, this is not. This is design palette. At this moment, we are not getting those options since there is no application here. Means we haven't created any project. So therefore there is no design palette here. But soon we will get, and then I will explain you in detail. So here you can see we have few more things. Mule property. So whenever you will use any mule component, that component will have some property and you will able to see here inside this. In console, this is nothing but here you will get console log. So whenever you will build or deploy your mule application, you will able to see your log here. Okay. And then if there will be any issue in your code, then you will able to see inside problem tabs. Okay. So first, how to create any empty project. So here you can see create mule project. Either you can select this option or you can go in file, new project. So here what we need to do, we need to give project name. So let's give here exchange rate. Application. So we are going to create one mule application which will give us exchange rate. Okay. And click on finish. So now you can see all the palettes are available. In Package Explorer, you will able to see project. Okay. If there will be multiple project, you will able to see all the project. At this moment, we created only one. So here you can see that project and all the related file from this project. By default, you will get one POM file. Okay. In MuleSoft, all the projects are Mavnized project. That's why by default, one POM file will be there. Okay. In POM file, okay, at this moment, I will not discuss this. Otherwise, you people may feel some difficulty. Okay, so let's go with a simple thing first, and then I will come to what is Mavnized project, what is POM file. Just give me 1 minute. Okay. So this project will be created and all the related file will be created. Okay. Now, here you can see inside src main mule, one XML will be created. Okay. So this XML here we will do all the development and everything. Okay. Exchange rate application. Once you will click on this, you can see here this palette will be created. Okay. This is the design palette. Okay. Or you can say mule palette. Okay. In this, as I mentioned, there will be 3 tabs: message flow, global element, and global config XML. Okay. So in message flow, whatever you can see, you can drag and drop component and you can do development. Okay. Once you will have good experience, and at that time, you can go to configuration XML. You can do some kind of coding from XML. It's not mandatory. Okay. Like even means I have almost 8 years of experience in like including all the integration technology. Still, I am not preferring this one since writing code will be difficult. So what I am doing, I am generating everything in drag and drop way. Okay, automatically code will be generated here. Okay, so you need not require to worry about this code part. Only thing we can take advantage of this code part when we want to do some copy paste. Okay, so whenever I want to do something copy paste, at that time I am taking advantage of this configuration XML. Okay, so copy paste part will be easy. So when I will do real time project, at that time you will see how I am doing copy paste and you will also get idea. Okay, so at this moment, no need to worry about this coding part. You can do everything from here only, from drag and drop, you can do everything. But once you will be having some experience, some part of like development will be easy from code. Okay, it's not like you have to do coding only. Drag and drop also you can do, but this coding will be faster. Okay, that you will get after some time, that knowledge you will get after some time. So that's fine. Global element, again, here we are defining some kind of properties and all. So that again, when we will define, you will come to know. That will come after 1 week. Okay. After 1 week, we will start using global element. Now go to message flow. So in message flow, we will do all the processing. Okay. All the development and everything we will do in message flow. So coming to our development, what we have discussed in this diagram. So first thing, whenever we will start with source. Okay, this is known as source, this is known as target, and this is known as transformation. So first we will define the source. Okay, so in source, what we are going to do? In source, what we are going to do? We are going to expose our API as a REST API. Okay, so what component we will use? HTTP listener. So if you will come here, by default, you will get this two connector. Okay. So in MuleSoft, we have 200 plus connector. By default, you will get only two connector. If you want to add a new connector, you need to go to either add module or exchange. Okay. Here you will get 20 frequently used connector. Around 20 frequently used connector you will get. And here in exchange, you will get remaining all the connectors. How you will take connector from exchange, that we will discuss later. Okay. So here we are going to use HTTP connector, and whenever you will create any Mule application, by default, it will come. Okay, so when you will click on this HTTP connector, you can see here we have 4 operations. Basic security filter, listener, load static request, resource, and requester. So which operation we will use in source part? Can anyone tell me which operation we need to use?
Listener.
Listener.
Yeah, correct. Listener. But why we are using listener? What listener will do?
To exposing our APIs as
Expose our APIs.
Yeah.
REST API.
So correct. So whenever we want to expose our API to external world, then we need to use listener. Okay. So listener means we are defining any address. Okay. We are going to give address to our API. So if someone want to call our API, so they will go to that particular address and then they will able to call our API. So what you need to do, see here, we at this moment, we have this coding. What I did, I go to HTTP listener, select this and drop it here. automatically, if you will go back, go to coding part, you can see this thing got created. This one is created just now. So you don't need to write any code. You just need to drag and drop and everything will be created in backend. Now in listener, go to this listener. So first thing, whenever you are creating any listener, okay. So what you need to do, as I mentioned, the main purpose of listener to give some address to our API. So here you can see whenever you will create listener, it will ask you connector configuration. Okay. So in connector configuration, you need to give address to your API. Okay. So what you will do here, you can see plus symbol, click on this plus symbol. So here we have multiple property. At this moment, we will focus on mandatory property. Slowly, I will explain you all the. Just give me 1 minute. Yeah, hello. Sorry. So here we have, like, for this listener, we have multiple properties, but at this moment, let's focus on mandatory property, which you must need to know. So first one is protocol. Now you will able to correlate things what I was explaining during that time. So you can see here. Now this is the third party API which we consume, but now we are going to define our API. We are going to develop our API, means MuleSoft API. So for that also we need same thing. So first thing you can see protocol. Okay. So here, what protocol we will use to expose our API? Either you can use HTTP or HTTPS. Any of these two you can use. Okay, so we will use first, we will go with HTTP only. So protocol will be HTTP, then host. Okay, you can see here. So for this API also, it has this API.com, sorry, API.apilayer.com. This is the combination of host and port. So this is the combination of host. This is the host and this is the port. So api.apilayer.com is combination of host and port. Okay. So here you can see we are going to run this application on our local system. Okay. So we will use host as a 0.0 local host. Okay. So for local host, endpoint will be host means for local host will be 0.0.0.0 or localhost. Anything you can select. So let it be 0.0.0.0. Okay. And port will be 8081. Okay. So port you can take any other port also, but make sure that port is not used by any other application. Okay. So whatever port are you are using, generally 8081, 8082, this port will be available. But it might be possible there are some other application which are using this particular port. At that time, you need to change your port. Okay. So far, we have configured this many things. HTTPS protocol we used HTTP. Okay, let's do it. So we used HTTP. Then we used host as a 0.0.0.0. Port will be 8081. Okay, till this point we define. Now we need to give base path. Okay, so here we can give any base path. So you can see here we have base path. Okay, so in base path I want to give /API. Okay, so what I did in base path I given /API. Okay, and then we have this convert is our URI. Okay, so here we will give in our case we will give exchange rate. So we can give anything. We will give exchange rate. Okay, so this is the base path. Now where you will define this is the base path where we will define URI. So to define URI, what you need to do first, you need to click on OK. So this part, whatever we did, everything is fine. Okay, we define all the mandatory thing. If you want to make sure this port and host is available or not, you can click on this test connection. Okay. If this host and port will be available, your test connection will be successful. If not available, then it will give you error. So here we got test connection successful, means this host and port is available. So we can use this one. Click on OK. Now you can see here, this is your path. Okay, so in path, you can give any path. So what we decided, we will use path as a exchange rates. One minute, my system is hanging. Just give me 1 minute. So here you can see now. Previously there was okay, still there is a read. Now you can see previously when we drag and drop that component, since we haven't configured everything. Okay, so it was read here, but now We can't see anything red here, means we did all the configuration. So this configuration is done. Okay, so our listener is now ready. So far we are good with this. Anyone has any doubt on this part? Okay, so we configured this listener, and now we are good to expose our API to expose as a REST API. Like we are good to expose our API as a REST API. So only this configuration is done so far. Everyone clear with this?
Yes, sir. Yes.
If anyone has any doubt, quickly you can ask. Fine. So everyone clear on this? Now, once our listener is confirmed, listener is good, then first thing what we need to do, we need to do transform message. Okay. And what is the purpose of this transform message? To convert source form like data from one format to another format. Okay. So here, what I will do. Okay. So where you will get transform message, you can see here core component. Okay. Click on this core component. You will get all the core components here. Okay. So we have multiple core components. At this moment, I want transform message. So here you need to search. You can see here we have transform message. Either you can search, go to core component, you can search here, or you can simply type here. Okay, so if you will type here transform message, so you will get here. Okay, so just take this component and drop it here. Okay, so what all transformation we want to do here? So we will convert this from currency to from, base currency to, and then amount to amount. Okay, so what I will do, I will create here. So here at this moment, I am writing very simple DataWeb syntax. Okay, I'm writing DataWeb code. At this moment, we haven't done DataWeb class, but whatever we need at this moment, I am explaining that part, and then slowly we will take in-depth knowledge of DataWeb. Okay. So as I mentioned, like whenever you are writing MuleSoft application, whenever you are creating MuleSoft application, 10% places you need to do coding, and that 10% place will be your DataWeb. Okay, so you can see this is the syntax of DataWeb. Okay, it starts from DataWeb version. Percent DW 2.0 means DataWeb of version 2. Then this is the output. Okay, after that transformation, what will be structure of our response, means whatever we will get from that DataWeb, what will be structure of that? Okay, so here you can see application slash JSON, means once we will complete this transformation, then we will get one JSON payload. Okay, and here you need to define structure of that JSON payload. Okay, so JSON payload, each like wherever we are writing JSON payload has two part. Okay, what all two parts it has? It has key value pair, key and then value. So in key, what we will put inside key? We will put first key is 2. And what will be value? Value will be this. So what we are doing, whatever value we have inside base currency, we are passing to 2. Okay, so key will be 2 and value will be this base currency. And how to get the value of this base currency? Syntax will be this. Since we are passing base currency inside query parameter, to retrieve any data from query parameter, syntax will be attributes.queryparams.queryParameter name. So attributes.queryparams.queryParameter name. So first one is done. Second is we need from. Okay, so we need from. So how from where we will get? We will get from currency. So syntax will be this. You can see whenever you are defining any JSON payload, that JSON payload should be comma separated. Each key value pair will be separated by comma. And third, we want amount. So syntax will be attributes dot query parameters dot. Okay, so this will be our data weave code. We will paste it here. Anyone has any doubt? Let me know quickly.
Hi Ravi, JSON payload like no need to put in quotes. Huh?
JSON payload, which codes you are saying where? Okay, this one to from it's okay. It's up to you. Okay, it's not mandatory. You if you want, you can put. If you don't want, you can leave. Both are okay. This only you are saying, correct?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So it's not mandatory.
Okay.
So now what is our next item? We want to call this third party API. So which operation we want? Inside HTTP connector, we want requester operation. So inside HTTP connector, we want requester operation. So drag in, drop it here. So in requester, again, you can see here for requester also we need configuration. Okay, so click on this plus. Now, can anyone tell me what will be protocol here?
HTTPS.
Yeah. So why we are taking HTTPS? Using requester, we are calling third party API. And if you remember this third party API, I want to call. What is the protocol? HTTPS. Okay. So here it will be HTTPS. What will be host? So here you can see this is the host. Okay, actually this is host and port, combination of host port. So if you have combination of host port together, means if you have domain, so no need to provide any port. If you are having domain, so only put that domain inside host, since domain is a combination of host and port. Okay. Now, just give me 1 minute. So first thing, protocol we have given, host we have given. Since domain is a combination of host and port, so we don't need to provide host and port, just provide this domain only. Okay. Then this is the URI. Okay. So other things are not mandatory, so I am not using at this moment. In base path, we can give this, like we can split this into two parts. Okay. We can split into base part plus URI, but let's make it simple. Okay. Okay. So here now, just let me do a small modification to make things more clear. So here you can see we have exchange rate data, then convert. This complete thing is known as path. Okay. But you can break this path. Path is a combination of base path plus URI. Okay, so either you can put all this thing inside path, or you can split into base path and URI. So this will be your base path, and this will be. Okay. So what I will make, to make this thing simple, I will make it in path only. Okay. So this will be your path. One forward slash will be here. So this will be your path. So where we will configure path in requester. So this protocol is done, host port is done. Okay, and click on this OK. Go down. Here you can see method. Okay, so to call this third party API, what is the method? Get. Okay, so method will be get, and inside path we will give this path. You will say in when we are defining our API. Okay, when we are calling some third party API, we are defining method. What method they have defined, we are providing that method detail. But when we are defining our API, exposing our API, we haven't defined method. So by default, it will take one method. Okay. So when you will click on listener, you will go to advanced. Okay. In advanced, you can see by default will be get method only. So if you want, you can define get, post, whatever. But if you will not define anything, by default, it will be get method only. Let's define here. So here we have HTTPS API/API layer.com/exchange rate data /convert. HTTPS API/API.API layer.com/exchange rate data /convert. And here you can see we are passing to, from, and amount. Okay, in query parameter. Okay. So if you want to define any query parameter, you can see here, once you will scroll down, you will able to see query parameters here. And you can define query parameter key value pair. Once you will click on plus, this key value will be generated here. And if you will click on FX, you can see here we have this key and value. If you remember, we already generated this particular payload. Where we generated? We generated it in transform message. Okay, here instead of JSON, it should be Java. Okay. If you are passing any query parameter, URI parameter, or header, it must be Java. Okay. So we have already defined this thing in where we define inside payload. Okay. Same thing we have here. So what we will do? In query parameter, we will pass payload. And in body and all, we don't need anything. So simply remove. So only thing to call this API we need, that is query parameter. So whenever you are calling any API, you can pass input in 4 format, either in body, in header, in query parameter, in URI parameter. Whenever you want to pass any processing data, we will pass inside body. Whenever we want to pass any metadata, then we will pass inside header. Whenever you want to pass any filter condition, then you will pass in query parameter. And whenever you want to pass any unique identifier, okay, what is unique identifier? Let's say you want to retrieve customer information where customer ID is this. So customer ID is unique identifier there. Okay. So if you want to pass any unique identifier, okay, then you should pass inside URI parameter. These are the 4 format. If you are calling any REST API, you can pass data in 4 format. Here we are passing inside query parameter, and that query parameter we have stored inside payload here. Once we create transform message, we created to, from, and amount, which we need to pass in query parameter to this REST API. HTTP requester call when we are calling external API. Okay, so we are done with this call also. Now next call we have to do this exchange rate. Again, we are doing transformation. Okay, so here we will not able to do in down. Okay, we have to do next. So in core component, we have transform message. Just drag and drop. Okay, and what we want to do in this transform message. So we are getting this payload as a response, and from this payload, I want only result. So what will be syntax? Payload dot result. So in this transform message, I want exchange amount, and what will be value? Value will be payload dot result. So whatever payload we will get after this call, okay. So whatever data we will get after this call, that data will be stored inside payload. Okay, so from that payload, I am taking this result and I'm storing inside exchange amount. So what it will do, it will give us one JSON payload in response where exchange amount will be this value. Everyone clear on this part? Okay, so save this. So we are good with this API. This API development is done. Now you will say we haven't worked on we haven't done anything here. How it will send response back? So this listener is smart enough. Okay, it's designed in such a way, whatever payload, whatever last payload you will create, that last payload will be sent as a response. Okay, and what last payload we have created here? If you see here, last payload we have created exchange amount, and this will be their value. So we are good with this development. Everything is developed. So we have completed development of this API. So now next, what will be our action item? So do right click. Sorry, there's something wrong with my laptop. So do right click, and here you can see we have two options. Either you can run your project or you can run in debug mode. So let me run in debug mode. So what is the advantage of debug mode? It will help you to debug your mule application. Okay, how it will help us to debug? So I will show you, but let me start at this moment. So click on this. Okay, and now you can see when your application will start deployment, you will able to see console log. If there will be any error, you will get this build. If there will during build or deployment, you will able to see this here. Okay, let's wait for deployment. It will take 1 to 2 minutes. So you can see here, our application is deployed. Once you will get this deployed, then you need to go to Postman. Okay. Here again, we will create one new Postman. So click on plus. Either you can click plus or you can click on new. So once you will click on plus, then you need to give method. So if you remember, we define method as a get. Then here you need to give endpoint. Okay, so endpoint we already created. So what will be endpoint? This will be endpoint. Okay. Now we need to pass query parameter. So what all query parameter we need to pass? From currency. So from currency, let's pass USD. Anyone has any doubt? Second, base currency. Then amount. Okay. Now by clicking on this sends, okay, so you can call this API. What API just now I developed, I can call that API. So before making to call this API, I will add one breakpoint here. Okay. So this breakpoint will help us to debug our API. Okay. The main purpose of this breakpoint, it helps us to debug our mule application. Now we have added this breakpoint. Now let's make a call to this API. Click on send. And here you can see this listener. Okay, this listener helped us to expose our API to external world. And now from external world, at this moment, we don't have front-end system. So what external world we have? We are using Postman. Okay, this is external system from where we are making call to our API. Okay, so front-end will also call our API in same way. So when your front-end system will call our API, they will also use this endpoint to call our API. At this moment, what we did, we are calling this from Postman. So I made request. So here request will come to listener. Then listener will transform this message. Okay, this transformation is done. Now we are calling the third-party API. So we are waiting for response from this third-party API. Okay, it failed due to timeout. Okay, so whatever external API we called, that API got failed. Let me see how much time it's taking. So if I try to call this API from Postman, by default 443 will come. That is okay. Okay, so it looks like this API is taking longer time. Let me see, is this 443 is the region? Then we have like many APIs support this 443. but many API will not support this 443. So in that case, we need to do some workaround. It looks this server, that's API server itself is down. Okay. So anyhow, we are like out of time today. Okay. So it looks like this API server itself is down for today. So let's connect. Let's connect tomorrow only. Okay. We'll take class on tomorrow, Thursday. Okay. Since we missed one class on Monday. So for that, we will take on tomorrow. So let's connect same time tomorrow and we'll continue this API. Okay. So meanwhile, I will send recording. So everyone follow my recording and do same thing in your system. Okay. Whatever I did. So do same thing in your system. So by next 1 hour, I will send this recording and we'll do testing tomorrow.